like this, you might get the feeling that you could go for 400, but you know you really can't.
September 22nd, 1984, Coach Eddie Robinson begins his assault on the college record books. The first mark to eclipse that of 313 victories by the legendary Glenn "Pop" Warner. Coach Robinson goes after number 314 against Bethune-Cookman. Let's go back and relive some of the highlights.
2nd and 15 from the BC 15. Anderson looking and finding Wayne Hill. Hill puts the shake and bake on the defender and steps into the end zone untouched. Wayne Hill, the outstanding running back for Eddie Robinson's Grambling State Tigers, 6'2", 205 out of Barronwood, Louisiana. As is usually the case, George Rosales is called upon for his PAT expertise. It's long enough and it's good. And in the third quarter, Grambling State has now jumped out 14-3 over Bethune-Cookman. Third down and 8. Again, the pass goes to Kevin McCowan. McCowan is close to the 10-yard line, and he picks up the first. We see Anthony Anderson make that Terrell Landry taking the snap from center. Outstanding blocking up front, some penetration by the BC Wildcats, with Wayne Hill with excellent speed, circling wide right at the 10, the 5, and in for the touchdown. As usual, George Rosales is in to attempt the PAT. It's up and good. And in the fourth quarter, it's now Grambling State 21, Bethune-Cookman 5. We move to action later on in the quarter. After fumbling, it's now Grambling State and John McFarland. McFarland with a 17-yard touchdown carry into the end zone. Grambling's all-SWAC All-American kicker, George Rosales, is in, and the PAT is good. The score now stands Grambling State 28, Bethune-Cookman 5. The quarterback, Raymond G, taking a handoff, drop back into the pocket. Excellent protection, courtesy of the Grambling State offensive line. And deep in the end zone, we find Arthur Wells outdistancing the receivers for the TD. George Rosales once again is called upon for the PAT. The snap is down, the kick is up, and it's good. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats went on to add an additional touchdown, and that's the way the scoring ended. Grambling State 35, Bethune-Cookman 17.
The win tonight tied you with the late great Amos Alonzo Stagg, the second on the list of winningest coaches in the history of collegiate football. Your feelings on being in such fine company?
Well, you know, I guess it's nice to be in the company, and I'm sure it is, but I haven't had time to think about it. You know, it's been on the back burner, so to speak, and I've had quite a bit of rest, and about the people talking, they said it was on hold, and it's been on hold, and I tell you what you said, I think you came close to my feeling. You know, say 2 and 3 years ago, or maybe say 2, when persons started mentioning Eddie Robinson in the same paragraph with Paul Warner and Alonzo Stagg and Coach Bryant, I felt real good about it, you know, because I had read so much about Warner and Alonzo Stagg. I had a chance to meet him, and I was awed by him and had a lot of respect, and I realized, you know, being in coaching, the price he had paid.
The win over Bethune-Cookman allowed Coach Eddie Robinson to surpass Glenn "Pop" Warner. It also tied him on the list of all-time victories with Amos Alonzo Stagg. Up next, the Panthers of Prairie View as Coach Eddie Robinson goes after win number 315.
On fourth down, Prairie View's punt is going to be blocked at the line of scrimmage. Billy Medley comes up with the reception, and it's now 1st and 10 Grambling on first down. This is Wayne Hill circling wide right and outdistancing 2 defenders to notch the first touchdown after the turnover. Right? And George Rosales coming in for the PAT. It's up and good. And early in the first quarter, it's Grambling State 7, Prairie View nothing. And it's 3rd and goal. On 3rd down, Reggie Pugh noses into the end zone for the touchdown. Reggie Pugh, the other half of the rushing tandem for Eddie Robinson's Grambling State Tigers, notches his first touchdown, the second of the contest. The PAT by Rosales is up and good, and Grambling State has now jumped out in front, 14-0. Brow again wants to go to the air, sees a hole in the defense, tries to run, but is going to be racked up by Sharaf Finn, an excellent defensive play. On fourth down, a high snap. The kick just barely gets away. Patrick Scott signaling for a fair catch. Melvin Lewis picks up the blocked punt, the partially blocked punt, and scrambles into the end zone for the touchdown. Melvin Secret Weapon Lewis coming up with an outstanding defensive play. George Rosales, his usual PAT expertise is exercised here, and it's Grambling State now early in the third quarter, 21-0. Anthony Anderson remains at the helm. The handoff again goes to Wayne Hill. Hill tiptoes down the sideline into the end zone for the TD. Wayne Hill with his second rushing touchdown of the contest ups Grambling State's lead in anticipation of the point-after touchdown attempt by George Rosales. Rosales is in, awaiting the snap. We get flags on the play. And on the following play, Rosales follows through, and it's good. And Grambling State now has jumped out in front of arch rival Prairie View A&M, 28-0. And on second down, Terrell Landry with the quarterback sneak breaks the plane and goes in for the touchdown. George Rosales once again is in for the PAT. It's up and good. And in the fourth quarter now, it's Grambling State 35, Prairie View 0. After a face mask penalty, it's first and goal, Grambling State University. Darren Sofas puts his shoulder down and runs over two defenders to notch the final TD of the contest. Sofas, having seen very limited action thus far this year, is elated with the opportunity to play and score a TD in his first start. George Rosales comes in for the PAT with no time left on the clock, and that's the way the scoring ended. Grambling State University evening their record at 500 football with a 42-0 shutout over conference foe Prairie View A&M.
When the Eddie Robinson Show continues, we'll take a look back at two of the most memorable wins in the long and storied career of one of America's great heroes, Coach Eddie Robinson. It's week number 3 of the 85-86 campaign, and the Tigers of Grambling State University have returned once again to the friendly confines of Shreveport's Independence Stadium. This week, the eyes of the college football world are upon us as Coach Eddie Robinson attempts to tie the late, great Paul Bear Bryant as college football's all-time winningest coach. This week's opponent, the Beavers of Oregon State, are currently 2-1 after a disappointing loss last week to Fresno State. The Tigers of Grambling State, on the other hand, are undefeated, enjoying a 45-14 win last week in New York's Yankee Stadium over North Carolina Central. And thus the scene is set for another exciting intra-conference game.
Terrell Landry still looking to notch the first score of the contest. Hands off on the misdirection play to Wayne Hill. Hill with a bruising run takes the second and third effort into the end zone for the touchdown. Wayne Hill showcasing his athletic ability on second and third effort, not to be denied, punches it in for the first touchdown in the contest. Ardeshir Nogahar awaiting a placement from Patrick Scott. The snap is down, the kick is up, and good. And in the first quarter, Grambling State University leads Oregon State 7-0. John McFarland, the wingback, in motion. Landry has time, fires, and the pass is completed to Wayne Hill at the 10-5 and touchdown. Wayne Hill showing that he can not only run for touchdowns, but catch them as well. After a fumble in the fourth period, we now see Coach Eddie Robinson conferring on the sideline with his troops as Oregon State gets set to attempt another field goal to try to narrow the gap between the Beavers and the Tigers of Grambling State University. The special team so far has turned out a sterling effort along with staunch defense to post Grambling well in the lead of Oregon State. Nielsen has the snap, the kick is up, and it's going to be blocked. James Devastation Polk, using his 6'11 frame to the utmost advantage, reaches over the defensive line and comes up with the block, saving the field goal attempt for Grambling. We pick up the action later in the fourth period. OSU playing at 2nd and 17 from their own 7-yard line. On second down, the safety blitz shows James Hollywood Harris going unmolested to sack Nielsen for the safety. But after some sterling defensive efforts from Grambling, as a result, it's now in the waning moments, 2nd and goal, and Terrell Landry finds Sherman Cowley in the end zone unmolested for a touchdown. Jubilation abounds along the sidelines of Grambling State University as a large Novahar's kick is up and good, and that's the way the scoring ended in the second encounter of Shreveport's Independence Stadium. Grambling State victorious over Oregon State, the final 23-6.
Welcome back to the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas, Texas. This week's game pits the Panthers of Prairie View A&M. The Panthers enter this contest sporting a 1-3